Hi guys, today we're going to talk about different NLP libraries in Python. We're gonna go through the documentation and run some code and see what different features are available in different libraries to find out what we can use in our NLP projects, right? I'll include the timestamps in the description, so if you wanna move around the video, you can do that, right? So let's get started. Let's talk about NLTK first. NLTK is a classic NLP Python library. So if you want to install NLTK in your machine, what you need to do is you can either pip install, or if you have like Anaconda, you can go to Anaconda prompt and then just do the regular conda install NLTK, right? Already have all the libraries installed, so it's probably gonna say that I have it installed or something like that. We can go to NLTK documentation and see what different things that we can do here. So if you have seen my previous video, I talked about very important concepts in NLP, so you'll be familiar with a lot of terms that we come across in while reading the documentation, right? So you can tokenize, right? You can break down the sentences into words, as they say here. You can do named entity recognition. You can also display the words in the sentences based on the parts of speech, and you can visualize it in the form of trees. But when it comes to visualization, I think spaCy does it better. spaCy has more appealing visualizations. We'll see that later on in the video. So if I see NLTK, it says like done and stuff. Like I already have NLTK installed, so it's not gonna be a problem. So we can go ahead and run the code. We can go ahead and run the code in Spider. So let's just tokenize that. Let's say import NLTK, right? And then we can just sentence is equal to this. Just run the code. Okay, and then we can tokenize that, right? We can say tokens, and then if we just run the code, we can just like say tokens, and it's gonna give us all the words, right? It's gonna break it down. And then if we go ahead and do like tags, right? And then maybe if we say like, okay, so right here the console, run the code here again, and then maybe import NLTK, NLTK download. So it's saying that you need to have that. So I'm going to install that. So it's probably downloading. Yeah, it's downloading. So now I can go ahead and do that. Sorry. So it's gonna give the respective parts of speech, right? Okay, fair enough. Then you can also do identify named entities, display pairs. Okay, so that's more or less NLTK for you. You can go and check out different things that you can do. Also, you can go through the modules part, right? You can go through the modules part and see all the methods they have. And I think while you're doing a project, you will know that what is it that you're supposed to do, what is it that you want to do, and then just like look for it in different places, and then it will probably direct you to some function that NLTK has. And I think that's the best way to learn, basically. So the next library, let's talk about TextBlob, right? I absolutely love using TextBlob because not only does it more or less do everything that NLTK does, but it also does some other things, right? So for example, you can see, look at the features. You can do noun phrase extraction, you can do post tagging. let's do sentiment analysis. You have sentiment analysis. You can do decision tree, neighbors, tokenization, word and phrase frequencies, back and forth. We saw that in the previous video. Parsing n-grams, right? Okay, let's spelling correction also. Wow, that's amazing. So let's do a sentiment analysis. I also have, like, you need to install it first. You need to do pip install, or like if you have conda, then do conda install. Let's try it out. Let me clear the console. Let me erase everything. Let's do sentiment analysis, right? Okay, sentiment analysis. But I need to first import. Okay, so let's import from TextBlob, and then what we can do is we can go ahead and do send testimonial is a variable, and then we use the sentence, and then if we run the code, right, and then we can just go ahead and run it here in the console. Okay, so the output that you're gonna get, two outputs, right, for one for polarity and one for subjectivity. If you want to know about the scales, you can check it out here. So subjectivity basically measures whether the text is a fact or an opinion, and the scale is from 0 to 1, right? 0 to 1. And polarity is basically text sentiment. The scale is from -1 to 1, +1 positive 1, -1 being it's the most negative sentiment, and +1 being the opposite, right, the most positive sentiment. And you can do that for tweets. You can do that for reviews. Like if you have like a bunch of reviews as your data set, then you can just run a for loop and check the sentiment, and then you can like visualize that sentiment in a pie chart, maybe in bar charts or whatever you like, right? So yeah, it's pretty cool. And you can also do a bunch of other stuff. You can do spelling correction. So yeah, so if you have like this instead of this, right, and then I could just like go ahead and print, right? I can go ahead and print, and then it's basically it's, yeah, so it knows, it understands that, you know, the spelling of have and could is, and also spelling, all of them are incorrect, right? So it knows and it's doing that, but I'm sure it has its limitations. For example, if I, let's see if it understands. I play football. Let's see if it understands that. um I play football, right? So yeah, it understands that. But yeah, so for if it's like slightly incorrect, I don't know how to say that. I mean, like if it's not wildly incorrect, if it's not like, for example, if I say go ahead and I like making, I, for example, if I miss a, and then like if I say video, let's say video, I'm sure it will make a mistake here. See, so it makes it, so yeah, I'm not trying to undermine the accuracy here, because it definitely, every function, like, it's a very difficult job, right? So yeah, it also has its limitations. I definitely don't mean I keying vain, right? I was trying to say I am making video. If I still run that, I am keying vain. So I am making video. So it definitely has its limitations, but I think you can also, you know, build up the classifier from ground up. If it's not working for your use case, you can do that. You can afford to do that. It also has noun phrase frequencies, parsing. Yeah. There is the n-gram, right? So the n value they're using is 3. So it's basically they're using the trigram model, which we talked about in the previous video. So yeah, so 3 successive words, right? So now is better than, then better than never, right? Better than never. Okay. So yeah, that's more or less TextBlob. You can go through the documentation and look at other stuff that they have. Yeah. And then there is spaCy. spaCy is really interesting also. You can go through the documentations here. Let's go and see, let's try using spaCy. So in the start they tell you that you know you need to find out whether like the installation process basically, what's your OS, package manager, what you, if like if you're not using Anaconda, you can just go ahead and do like the regular pip install. If you have Anaconda, you can do both, right? Then you need to find out Python version. I don't know what Python version I have. It's probably 3.8 if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it's 3.8, right? So yeah, it's Python 3.8. Then you can do lemmatization. Then you can have like different models, right? Depending on what language of text you are using to you're analyzing, right? By default, I think English comes by with default with the installation of the library. And then just let's go ahead and run some code. Okay, so let's go to linguistic features. There is post tagging. So let's go through the code, right? So it says NLP equal to spaCy.load and then n core web sm. So this sentence, it's basically loading the English language so that now the text that it's gonna analyze, it's gonna follow the rules that of the English language, right? And then it has this sentence, and then it's doing a bunch of stuff. Since I also have like spaCy installed in my machine, so I can go ahead and run the code, and it shouldn't be a problem. Let's see. Okay. Right, and then if I run the code, okay, so I'm getting a bunch of stuff. So I'm getting the texts of the word, it's tokenizing it, and then I'm also getting the lemma. So I'm getting the base form. I'm also getting parts of speech, right? And then shape is giving me the length of the text. For example, APPLE is 5 characters, so I'm getting 5 x's. Then token is alpha. It's basically giving me a boolean value, right? So it's, if it's alpha, alpha comes from the alphanumeric, right? So if it's number or symbol, as you can see here, like one or symbols, it's false, right? It's returning false. And otherwise, and also like UK, it also has, besides the letters, it also has some symbols like and so that therefore it's giving false, right? And yeah, so that is stop. You can see what stop here means. Let's go and see. So stop is the token part of stop. Oh, stop here they're using is as to mean stop words, right? We have also gone through stop words in our previous video, right? Stop words basically are words that are eliminated from the analysis because they don't contribute much to the overall meaning of the text, right? So we have, so if you have been through the previous video, if you have seen my previous video, you would be familiar with a lot of concepts, right? So yeah. And then what I was talking about earlier in the video is like about the visualization part. Visualization in spaCy is really interesting. So yeah, you can use this displaCy visualizer. Let's do that. Let's go to display visualization, and let's run some code. So okay, so let's just run this code. Okay, do I have that? Just like comment out the stuff and then just run the code, clear the console, and run the code. While it runs. Okay, so it's saying that the visualizer is running on my localhost, right? So I can just go ahead and do localhost, localhost 5000, and I should get the visualization. Yes, this is the visualization. This is giving me the relationship between the two words, so it may provide useful information for me during the analysis. I can go also do some other stuff. For example, if I use this sentence instead. Um, Let me stop the server, run the code again. Um, okay, so I can just, okay, so yeah, getting out of hand. So it's basically giving me the relationship between the two words. So yeah, spaCy, when it comes to visualization, I think it's really interesting. Then you can also visualize it in this form. And then you have entity recognizer, which I think is absolutely fascinating, and I really want to show you. Okay, so let's run this code and see it for ourselves. Let me just stop the server, clear the console. So let's see. So we talked about named entity recognizer in my previous video. So you basically know that what it means is that you're trying to classify text into predetermined categories, and as categories you may have like person names, you may have organizations, you have dates, and as you can see that it recognizes Sebastian Toon as the person name, and then Google as the organization name, and then you also have like locations. So for example, if I give a different sentence, let's say I am going to the Google office in London in 2021 uh, with Charles. Let's see if it understands all the different categorizations, right? Let's see if it can do that. It will definitely have its limitations, but let's try to push that, right? And then you can also like build it from scratch. So if to meet your use case, right? Let's see if it I'm going to the Google office, so it recognizes the entire thing as the organization name, London as the GB. I don't we'll see in the documentation what GB stands for. 2021 is the date, Charles as the person name. That's bang on correct, right? So we can go through the entity names to see what each of them stand for. And then you can also use that in Jupyter notebook, so that way you can like pass the notebook to somebody else, and then they can do it, like you can make it like very interactive, right? Yeah, so that's about spaCy. You can also like train models and stuff. Train models, you can go through the documentation and look at different things that you can do. But for that I wanted to talk about some other things that actually comes in collaboration with spaCy. There is prodigy, which is used for like machine learning stuff, for annotation. But as far as I know, prodigy is not entirely free. I may be incorrect though, but like you can use parts of prodigy, but like you can just like do the demo. As you can see, it also does named entities, it does text classification, images, it tries to recognize uh, objects in the image. That's really interesting. And then free form translation, German to English. Tried live and try type some text. Okay, I love food. What is it doing? Translation German to English. Whatever, it's probably, I'm probably doing something wrong here. Anyways, let's go to the next thing, which is Thinc. Thinc is a deep learning library. It also works with spaCy, but you can also, it's also compatible with PyTorch here. So you can then like do deep learning with the NLP. We can talk about that in a future video. Then you can also use the TensorFlow classification model. You have like sentiment classification, you can do it using the BERT model. If you want to know more about the BERT model, you can read this paper here, where the authors, they basically came up with the BERT model. BERT, BERT basically stands for bidirectional encoder representation from transformers. And then you can read the paper to go through what like how they train the machines, right? And then how they do parameter fine tuning and stuff. You can learn more about the model here. Then what else do we have? Yeah, the BERT model, you can go to the GitHub, they have the Jupyter notebook here. Yeah, you can go through that. There is another algorithm called word to vec. Word to vec. You can go through the visualizations. I'll try to add all the links in the description so that you can like go through them. And that's about it, guys. And I think I have I gave you a like a brief intro of the tools that you have at your disposal, the NLP tools that you have at your disposal. And just by going through the documentation, and if you have like a project in mind, if you have an NLP project in mind, you can just like go ahead and start making stuff. And while you find a problem, while you are trying to do something, while you're trying to make a component, you can then go and look stuff up. It doesn't have to be like from the documentation, but then you can just find out stuff from Stack Overflow, and it's going to lead you to some of these libraries that we talked about in this video. And then when you come across that, you're gonna if you have seen my previous video, you're gonna be familiar with a lot of concepts. And then if you have the environment ready in your machine, you can just go ahead and run the stuff. And your machine, your text editor is your playground. You can do whatever you want. You can just like try out different stuff, change the parameters perhaps. You can go through the documentation to know more about the functions. And whenever you're working in this particular domain, you will soon realize that there is a lot of limitations in the functions. So in a lot of situations, you will have to build a classifier on your own. So yeah, that's more or less what I wanted to cover in this video, and that is basically the scope of this video. And in a future video, I would like to maybe use all these libraries, take out functions from different parts, import a lot of libraries, then do a particular project, do something that is fun and interesting. And I'll see you in the next video. And thank you guys for watching, and be sure to check the timestamp if you want to navigate through the video. And bye.